Consistency is the key to success. Be consistent. We hear that all the time. Be consistent. Okay, great. The habits that we create, the things that we do on a consistent basis is going to help us get to where we want to go. However, no one really tells us how to be consistent. So today we're going to dig into what is consistency, why it matters, how to be consistent, and the 5 steps or tips you can take in order to create consistency. And before we dig into today's episode, I would absolutely love it if this episode resonated with you, if you head on over to Apple Podcast and rate the show, leave a review, and subscribe to the podcast so you can get notified on each and up and coming episode. Welcome to the Faith and Business Podcast. Are you a faith-filled mama who is sitting at her cubicle right now, feeling stuck, unfulfilled, just counting down the minutes until quitting time so that you can race home to spend that last 2 to 3 hours with your kiddos, then struggle to fit the time in to turn your big God idea into a profitable online business so that you can ditch that rat race and the draining 9 to 5? If so, then you're in the right place. You're joined by other faith-filled women who are using their commute to redefine their life, change their mindset, and turn their passions, knowledge, life experiences, or even the hobby that they love into a profitable online business by God's design that allows them to have the freedom to do what they love, make that income and impact they're craving to make, and be who God created them to be. I want to create a society where it's normal for moms to be home raising their warriors for the kingdom and making a living from their own passions and desires. I'm your host, Kristin Duranci. I'm a wife, mom, ex-9 to 5er, and daughter of the King. I know all too well what it's like to be at a 9 to 5 that drains you because it doesn't align with who God created you to be. So join me each week as I dive into honest conversations about my journey from employee to Christian entrepreneur, tactical tips, spiritual and mindset strategies, along with a step-by-step plan to empower you to take that step of faith, to partner with God, and to create, build, and scale your online business by His design. Because it is both strategic and spiritual. We have to have the right mindset, the right heart posture, and the right strategy to run a business by God's design. So if you're ready to say yes to all of this, you're not afraid to rock that status quo, stand up for what you are passionate about and believe, then armor up with Ephesians 6 and put on the full armor of God, because you are a warrior for the kingdom, and He is going to use you and your online business to do some pretty amazing things on this side of heaven. Welcome back to the Faith and Business Podcast. I am your host, Kristin Duranci, and I'm so thankful you are here with me today. We're going to talk about consistency because I've been seeing this theme in the online space. How do I be consistent? And we're told constantly to be consistent, that consistency matters, and consistency is the key to success. Well, great. I love that. But no one really tells us how to be consistent, and be consistent with what? And in what? And what actions do I need to take and why? And it all boils down to your goals. And I don't know if you've ever thought about it this way, but a better question to be asking is, how do I be consistent? We know we need to be consistent, but how do we be consistent? And it's going to look different for everyone, depending on the why you want to be consistent. Is it a business goal, a health goal, a relationship goal? And I'm giving you a tip on the number one thing you need to do in order to figure out what you need to do to be consistent. It's starting a goal or stating what your goal is. But before we get into that, remember, consistency is the key to success, because the habits are things that you do on a daily, consistent basis is what's going to get you to where you want to go. So the number one thing you need to do first in order to figure out why you want to be consistent or why you get to be consistent is, what future goal are you wanting to achieve? Is it a personal goal like weight loss, establishing a better morning routine, or a business goal, relationship goal? So the number one thing you need to do first is set the goal. And when I'm working with a client, I always recommend 90-day goals and then reverse engineer back to each month. So there's 3 months and 90 days. So start 90 days out, write that date down. So May, June, July, we'll say the end of July. So you need to reverse engineer back and figure out where you want to be at the end of May, the end of June, and the end of July. The end of July is your 90-day goal, but you need to reverse engineer back and figure out where you need to be in those first 2 months in order to reach your goal in the third month. And then you need to reverse engineer back to figure out what you need to do on a weekly basis and even a daily basis in order to hit that monthly mile marker. Your action items, what you need to do, might be the same thing every month, depending on what your 90-day goal is, or they may need to be tweaked each month or updated in the following month in order to reach your 90-day goal, whatever it is. Now, when I work with someone, I'm having them put a year goal. What is their main year goal? And that's not what this episode is about, so I'm not going to dig into that too much. And then I have them break it down into 90-day chunks because it's so much more attainable that way. So reverse engineer back, break it down into 90-day chunks, and then reverse engineer back to each month, set a mile marker for each month, and then reverse engineer back what you need to do on a daily or weekly or bi-weekly basis, whatever it is for you, however it works out in order to reach the monthly mile marker, the next mile marker, and then eventually reach your 90-day goal and then your year goal. Like I said, that's not what this episode is about, how to set goals. But the first thing you need to do in order to be consistent, to figure out why you need to be consistent and how, is what is the goal you're trying to achieve? So set a 90-day goal and then reverse engineer back and figure out what you need to do in order to achieve that. So my goal every 90 days is to have a certain number of downloads on my podcast and then a certain amount, a dollar amount of monetization from it. So every 90 days, I have this goal, which ties into my year-end goal of what I want to make with my business. It's just one leg of it with the podcast. I have my numbers, which is super important to know what you're going for. And then I reverse engineer it back to what I need to do each quarter and weekly, and then even daily sometimes. And then it's important to review. So once I got, let's say we're in May, so it's the end of May, I need to review where I am. Did I reach my end of May goal? And if not, I need to take a look and see what needs to be tweaked, changed, updated with my consistent daily or weekly habits in order to achieve the next month's mile marker. So for example, maybe I need to add on another bonus episode or tweak the content I'm talking about. I need to review my analytics. So whatever that is for you, whether it's weight loss, maybe you want to establish a new morning routine. You have some type of a metric that what you're trying to reach, and then you have your analytics, what you've done on a daily basis, what you've been journaling about. You can set certain mile markers to see where you are and if you're being consistent. And maybe you need to tweak things, which we'll get into a little bit here. We're going to take a quick break in today's episode because I have a special gift for you. But before we get into that, I want to check in and see where you are at in creating, building, and launching your online business by God's design. Haven't started yet? Need additional clarity? You need someone to help guide you to that next step or pray with you? Then get in my DMs, friend, and we will set up a time to talk. You can connect with me on Instagram or Facebook at Kristin Duranci, and I will also put the link where you can connect with me in the show notes. On to the special gift. So building, creating, launching, and running your online business by God's design not only takes business and marketing tactics and strategy, but more importantly, it takes knowing who God is, knowing the character of God. When we are co-laboring with Him to bring our dreams to life and create that online business by God's design to make an impact here on this side of heaven for eternity. So my special gift for you is a 30-day study on the character of God, a study of who God is, and it will be emailed to you each and every day for 30 days. And all you need to do is text the word study to 231-244-6670. All right, let's return to today's episode. So the number one thing you need to do first in order to figure out why you need to be consistent and how you need to be consistent. Be consistent. Okay, great. Well, why? Well, what do I do, right? It's setting a 90-day goal. And then, why does consistency matter? This is an important part. Why does it matter to be consistent? Why do you want to be consistent? Why do you want to be consistent with your business? Why do you want to be consistent showing up if you're podcasting or showing up on social media or showing up for the person that you're called to serve? A better question, though, is why do you get to be consistent? We get to do the things. We get to do the things that keep us being consistent in order to reach our goals. So it's a mindset shift right there. We don't have to. We don't need to. Those things are heavy. But you get to because God blessed you with certain skills, abilities, and knowledge. You get to do things you want to do to reach your goal. So why do you get to be consistent? For me, with podcasting, it keeps me top of mind with my audience. It makes people connected to me and connected with my message. It makes me relatable to my audience when I'm showing up and talking about things I've gone through, or they can relate with me and relate to the struggles and relate to my pain points. And hello, bonus, it gives me confidence, right? So the more you do something, the more you take action towards your goal, the less scary it's going to become. And it's the easier it's going to be to do these things on a consistent basis. Because if I'm not consistent, or if you're not consistent, you're not going to be relatable with your audience. They're not going to connect with your message because you have a message ecosystem and they need to hear who you are, what you stand for, and how you can help them in multiple different ways. Whatever that looks like, through showing up live on social media or doing a live on Instagram and your email list, and maybe you do podcasting. There's so many different ways in your message ecosystem on how they need to hear from you, because your message and why you're doing what you're doing in your online business, there's certain attributes to it. There's certain things you stand for. There's certain things you want to talk about and get across, and they're not going to get it all just in hearing from you one time, right? So you need to be consistent. And if we're not consistent, our ideal client isn't going to stay connected with us or connected to our message. So quick to recap here, the second part is figuring out why consistency matters, because I want you to take some actionable items right now. I want you, one, to figure out what your goal is and the items that you need to do in order to be consistent in order to reach that goal. But the second thing I want you to do is figure out why consistency matters to you in order to reach that goal. And I just gave you 4 reasons why it matters to me. So I want you to come up with 4 or 5 reasons why you need to be consistent, and it's not because of your goal. It's not your goal. So my goal is to have a certain number of podcast episodes and reach a certain dollar amount in my business. But why I get to be consistent is it keeps my audience. It keeps me on top of mind with my audience. It makes people more connected with me and connected with my message because they're hearing it in different platforms throughout my ecosystem. It makes me relatable and it gives me confidence. So you need to write down why you get to be consistent and what consistency is going to give you besides just reaching your goal. And I love this analogy. Does a clean house maintain itself? No. We have to consistently sweep, do the laundry, mop, dust, because what happens, the laundry gets piled up, things get dusty, and we don't really ever expect the piles of laundry to be clean or clean themselves if we're not consistently doing laundry, right? So it's not going to be any different with our business goals. We need to be consistent. And when I looked up what consistency is in the dictionary, these words popped up as being similar, like dependability, reliability. So dependability really popped out at me because can you depend on you? And forget other people for a minute. Forget your ideal client, forget your family, friends, online space people. But can you depend on you? Can you depend on yourself to be consistent? Ask yourself that. And no shame, no judgment here. We all need to extend ourselves grace, which I'll get into in a minute, because we have different seasons of life, things happen, and we're not consistent all the time, even though we want to be. So extend yourself grace, forgive yourself, move on. But back to dependability. Can you depend on you? And it boils down to integrity. And believe me, I'm getting Holy Spirit convicted with this too. Integrity. Do we do what we say we're going to do? Not for other people. Yes, if we tell people that we're going to do something, chances are we do it. But with ourselves. Are you in integrity with yourself? If you tell yourself you're going to do something, do you do it? If you tell yourself you're going to get up a half hour earlier each and every morning to spend time with the Lord and change your morning routine, are you doing it? Or are you hitting the snooze button? Whatever you tell yourself and you don't do, your subconscious latches onto that as a habit. And it becomes a habit, and a bad habit, right? Plus, if you tell yourself you're going to do something, I'm going to record that podcast tomorrow. I'm going to get up a half hour earlier, and you don't, you're losing trust in yourself. You're not going to trust yourself to do things. You're not going to trust yourself to take that huge step of faith and do what God's asking you to do in this online space with this profitable business by His design. If you're not able to depend on you, and if you can't trust you, then how is He going to trust you with what He wants to give you, right? It goes back, consistency goes back into integrity. If you say you're going to do it, then do it because you want to trust yourself. And you want your subconscious to be like, yep, need to get up. Lastly, 5 tips or steps to help create consistency. So you need to make a decision. And this boils back to what I talked about in the beginning of the episode. Make a decision, decide what goal you want, and make a plan on the steps you're going to need to take to achieve that goal. More importantly, take it to the Lord and create a God goal. What does He see for your business? What does He see for your life? What does He see for your relationships? Having a why, knowing why you need to be consistent, and having a goal is going to aid in your consistency. So establish that 90-day goal, establish a year goal, and then establish short 90-day goals and reverse engineer back to what you need to do and how you're going to need to show up in order to take the actions you need to take in order to reach that goal. So what do you need to do on a weekly, daily, bi-weekly basis to achieve your monthly milestones in order to be able to be consistent and reach that goal that you set for yourself? The second step is communicate your intentions. Communicate them to your spouse, your coach, your mentor, your family. It is huge. That is important. Your accountability partner, you need to over communicate. Don't let the lack of communication about your goals or your consistency plans, what you need to do on a daily basis, be the cause of family feuds or fights or whatever. Over communicate so everyone knows what needs to be done and how they can, 1, help hold you accountable, but 2, your spouse knows, your family knows that when you are on your phone at this point of time, or you're up in your podcasting room or whatever, you are working, and it's not a cause of an argument. So over communicate your intentions. 3, give yourself a day off. This is huge. You need to rejuvenate. You can't pour from an empty cup. And I'm talking about more than just Sunday. And I get it. I love what I do. I could work every day. I really could. And when I worked a 9 to 5, the only time I got to work my business was after work and on the weekends. I get it. I understand. But you can't pour from an empty cup. Please take my word on it. You can't pour into your family. You can't pour into your spouse. You can't pour into your ideal client, the person you're called to serve, from an empty cup. So schedule a day where you just take time during the week and take a day off besides Sunday and give yourself a break and pour and fill up your cup. Okay? Number 4, extend yourself grace. And this doesn't mean to let yourself off the hook, but take ownership of not being consistent. Take ownership of not being integrity. Take ownership of not being able to depend on yourself. But see where you need to make the changes in different seasons of your life. See how you need to make tweaks if something's not working, or if you haven't been consistent. Ask yourself why and make the change and tweaks that need to be made in order for you to be consistent. If you're doing way too much on a daily basis, then break it into larger chunks. Do not write down that you need to do 10 things on a daily basis and know in your heart of hearts that you're only going to get to 2. It just sets yourself up for failure. So if you know you can only get to 2, those 2 action items, then that's what you need to be doing. Not writing down the 10 and then looking at it and being like, oh, I wasn't consistent. I didn't do all of it. I didn't check everything off the list. No. Make the tweaks you need to make. Fit it into your schedule. Extend yourself grace if something comes up, but don't overload yourself so you're just not accomplishing anything and not being consistent. And then 5, reevaluate each month, and maybe bi-weekly or mid-month, but reevaluate each month of what's working. Figure out what type of analytics you need to be looking at for that goal that you set, and figure out what's working, what's not working. Do you need to tweak something? Do you need to do something different? And know that there's going to be different seasons of your life, different seasons of your business, and just honor that and remember to extend yourself grace. So the things that you need to do in order to know how you're being consistent and why is 1, first and foremost, set a goal. 90-day goal, and reverse engineer back to what you need to do on a monthly basis, and then what you need to do on a weekly and or daily basis in order to reach that goal. That helps you realize how and what you need to do in order to be consistent. And then why does this consistency matter to you? Why do you get to be consistent? Make sure you write down 4 or 5 reasons why consistency matters to you, besides just reaching that goal. And then go back through the tips to create consistency, which the first one was make a decision and make a plan. Communicate your intentions to everyone involved. Give yourself a day off. Extend yourself grace, and reevaluate and tweak when you need to tweak, and reevaluate at least every month. Consistency is the most important predictor of success, right? But results take time. We talk about things like eating healthy, going to the gym, losing weight, building a podcast following, creating an online business by God's design. And these are all things where we do not see instant results, and where our success ultimately relies upon consistency. Christian women entrepreneurs who are successful in being consistent, first and foremost, take their goal to the Lord. They make a God goal, and they ask the Holy Spirit for discernment in what their goals should be for their online business. They believe in themselves and extend themselves grace. They set goals. They're decisive. Successful, that was hard to say right now, people make informed decisions. They know that success is a process. It's not the final destination. And they also know that failure is just a stepping stone on that journey. They make frequent adjustments to their actions and items and tweak where needed. I pray that this blessed you today, and have an amazing day.
That's it for today, friends. There is only one you, and you are the expert someone is out there waiting to hear from. I want you to know this, feel this, and most importantly, be this. Never underestimate the impact and power you have. And hey, real quick before you go, do you want to win a free private coaching call with me? Take a screenshot of an episode and post it on your IG stories and tag me at Kristin Duranci. And if you feel extra daring, share one of your biggest takeaways. That is how you will get entered into the monthly drawing. And if you found value in today's episode, I would love it if you would subscribe, leave a review, and rate the show. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and spending it here with me. I appreciate you, and see you next episode.